Hey everyone, my name is Akal, and I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher as well as a Tantra teacher, and I also do sexual energy coaching. If you're interested in sexual energy coaching in particular, you can check out the link down below this video. I have two different versions of the program. It's basically a 6-week program, but there's the in-person. Either you're literally in person if you're in the city of Chicago, or if you are not in the city of Chicago, we can do it over Zoom or some sort of online format. The other version of my program that I've developed, and it took me about a year to develop this program, there's a video-based program. And again, all this is, you can follow the link down below the video and find out more. So what this video is about is, I specifically want to kind of talk about, there are certain advantages to inhaling and retaining the breath and certain advantages to the exhale. And what I'm talking about here is the movement of energy. The movement of energy is, so a lot of times, how do I describe this? I'm getting awful clamped here. So when you're doing a practice, a lot of the practices, particularly Taoist practices, deal with moving the mind within the body. And a lot of things in terms of moving the mind within the body, they'll say, oh, well, we're going to concentrate on let's say the Ming Men, which is the point opposite the navel along the spinal cord. Well, how do you concentrate on the Ming Men? There are various ways in which you can increase your concentration there, and particularly points on the backside of the body, which is essentially our shadow, right? So the backside of the body is an area of insensitivity. Oftentimes, we don't even really pay attention to the backside of our body until there's itchiness or there's pain or something like that, right? So what a lot of these practices are meant to do is to increase your sensitivity to your spinal cord. And again, the various points along the spinal cord. And a lot of let's say yoga or tantra practices deal with this breathing up and down the spine. There's one called the So Hung breath, or Hung So, or however you want to describe it. I believe that particular practice is there's a book called Jewel in the Lotus, which is a great book. Again, it's Jewel in the Lotus, wonderful book, look it up. So anyway, all these various practices that are, when we're trying to tune into insensitive areas within ourselves, there's ways to increase our sense of that area on the body or within the energy body. But specifically, I'm going to talk about points on the body itself. The center of the sternum is sometimes an insensitive, difficult place to contact. The place down below the navel, inside the body, we'll call that the lower dantian, the hara, whatever you want to refer to that area as. Anyway, all these various points can be quite difficult to access unless you have a strategy to do it. And the other thing is inhaling and exhaling. How does that impact the flow of energy? Okay, so how I want to do this is we're going to use very simple parts of our body, the fingertips, right? The fingertips are very sensitive, right? So we have a lot of nerve endings there. It's towards the front side of the body. So again, it's within our perceptual field. Again, ears angled forward and outward, eyes angled forward. Our entire 5 sensory system is angled forward. So if you're wanting to work with the unseen, if you're wanting other dimensional experiences, if you're wanting to perceive more light, all these things, you got to start working with the backside of the body. You got to go into the shadow. So the first thing I want to teach you about is how can we increase our focus. So increasing our focus, the first thing you do is you attach it to an inhale. So let's say I'm going to use my right index finger here. If I'm wanting to increase my sensation on the right index finger, and again, as you increase sensation on some part of your body, as you increase the amount of concentration, the amount of focus, the amount of attention on a particular part of the body, what it does is it liberates energy. So if there's energy congestion anywhere inside the body, what you have to do is you have to increase the concentration, the focus on that particular place, because it will start to shunt energy there. And then, sometimes you need to stretch, sometimes you need to move, different things can help to kind of open up the flow of the energy in that particular place. But the point is that the subconscious is always waiting for you. right? Shakti, Kundalini, whatever we want to refer to, the subconscious, the sort of, again, the latent energies which exist within the body. It requires the movement of the mind, the ego, into the body to connect so that the energies can then rise up. I call it the rebound effect, which is you need something solid to push off on in order to jump, right? So that's the rebound effect. I learned that from biomechanics. In biomechanics, I said, hey, if you want to jump, you want to elevate, you have to have something solid to push off on in order to elevate. Same concept here. If you're wanting otherworldly woo-woo experiences, you're going to have to anchor into the physical body on some level, ground your energies within the body so that the energy then can lift off. It's the old, seduction story of Shiva and Shakti, where Shiva is trying to seduce Shakti upward. And I'm sure there's more nuance to it. I'm not going to go into it. But we'll go back to my right index finger. So if I want to increase the concentration on the right index finger, if I want to increase the sensation on the right index finger, yes, I can move my mind and just sit there and focus on it. That's one way. The other thing I can do is inhale. So as I inhale with my concentration there, I can feel it even more. In fact, I feel like a little, what feels like tingling sensations when I inhale while focusing on there. Now, if I had one other nuance, which is a contraction. So if I want to totally feel my right index finger in technicolor, then what I do is contract right index finger, have my awareness there, my focus there. I'm contracting very gently and inhale. And I can feel this concentration of energy there. Now it feels like it's pulsing. It feels hot. It has tingling sensations. There's more nuance, right? So the more layers of attention you give to some particular part of your body you're wanting to activate, then what ends up happening is that it'll start to release and open and activate. So the point on the opposite, the spine, let's say, again, the Ming Men, which is the point on the spinal cord opposite your navel. You can do the same thing there. You have little muscles right around the spinal cord, although they're difficult to contract because we're not accustomed to contracting them. But the same thing. First thing you do is you bring your awareness there, so you feel it. You bring your awareness there, you bring your concentration there. Then you try to contract whatever muscles you have around there. Inhale. And it's as if you're pulling energy from behind you into that point. And then you exhale and concentrate the energy into that point. And that's the way you kind of connect to that space. Now, if I did this, let's say for 9-10 breaths, eventually I will feel this heat at my Ming Men, at that point on my spine. I'll feel more energy moving up and down my spinal cord. So again, it's about creating layers of concentration, layers of focus, layers of sensation. And so that's one point. Now, another point is, let's say I'm wanting to move energy around the body, right? So our perception is here and here, right? So our in terms of the seat of our consciousness, in a way, the seat of our awareness, we'll say, is third eye point, and then the occiput in the back. We have this would be the quote unquote masculine pole or the positive pole of the Ajna chakra. This would be quote unquote the feminine or the negative pole of the Ajna chakra. And of course, it's not the chakra itself. The chakra is an etheric structure that exists in the field, but these are the physical correspondences. So in order for me to, let's say, gather energy, one of those places you can gather energy is down by the navel, and another place is back here at the occiput, the back of the throat, the occiput area. And when I'm wanting to send light, let's say, and again, the perception of light exists up here. So if I'm wanting to shunt or send light to various areas of my body, let's say my fingertips, then what I end up doing is I need to sort of bilocate my awareness. So first thing I do is I have to connect to the space at the back of the head inside the occiput, the medulla, the back of the head, in the throat. What I could do is I inhale, and I kind of inhale as if I'm pulling energy into the back of the head. And then I retain the breath. And the breath retention, what it does is it also increases your concentration. So you retain the breath, it increases the concentration. your concentration and also the concentration of energy. So inhaling, retaining the breath, relaxing any tension you feel around there, because that'll help liberate space in which energy can then begin to pull. And so what you do then is, when you're ready to direct the energy, you do it on the exhale. So if I'm wanting to direct it to my fingertips, first I connect inside my head, move my awareness towards the back of my head, take a deep breath, relax any of the points that I feel around the medulla, around the back of the head, even along the roof of the mouth, the back of the throat. And, again, begin exhaling and inhaling, and again, exhaling and inhaling, until you feel like you have a lot of spaciousness inside the head. And then finally, when you feel like you have good spaciousness, you have a good perception of light, then what I do is, then I take a deep breath in, concentrate, focus, once again, connecting to the light that I perceive internally, bring my awareness to the fingertips, create sensation, right? So I'm contracting the fingertips, and then I exhale. And it's as if I'm sending that light to my fingertips. And what you will perceive potentially is, while your eyes are closed and you're doing this kind of exercise, you will see this light shunt to your fingertips because of the basic concept of energy flows to where the attention goes. And once again, if you have a contraction, your mind is focused, if all these things are happening, then it will indeed flow to those points. You have to suspend disbelief on things like this. When it comes to like perception of light and this thing and that thing and all, a lot of these kind of woo-woo experiences, you have to suspend disbelief. And I'll give you a really quick example of that, and then I'll finish up the video. Another example of suspending disbelief, and I'm going to do a video shortly on the aura, for instance, is like when I'm driving my car, I cast a bubble of protection around the car. So, and I can perceive this in my mind as a ball of light that surrounds my vehicle. And so when I'm driving, I always do this. I feel to the left, I feel to the right, I feel to the front, I feel to the back, I feel above, and I feel below. And then I create a field around the car. And so far, I haven't had a car accident in 15 years, so maybe it's working. But the point is that my conscious mind, well, we'll say not my conscious mind, but my logical mind, my rational mind says, that's not doing anything, right? Because it's within the subtle realms. But then I remind myself, I think it was Socrates who said basically, there is more that we do not understand in the universe than what we do. So you have to suspend disbelief in that when you're sending light or energy, that it is indeed true. That is indeed, it's doing something. And people who do energy work on others, for instance, you kind of learn this over time. So for instance, I'll put my hands inside of people. Like, again, it's the energetic signature of my hands will go inside of people and they respond. And I've learned that, this is indeed something and it's doing something. And what it's doing specifically is not really all that important, but it is indeed doing something. And my intention, of course, is always to help my clients, to help them evolve spiritually, to help them, and again, I'm trying to bring about balance within their energetic system. So when I'm doing this, I always have to remind myself, it is indeed a real thing that is happening here. So with all that said, appreciate you watching the video. Thank you.